So, we need to finish doing the transmission. Got ourselves a new remanufactured torque converter. Let's get her done.
Hey Slick, are you still in the shed?
Hi there folks, Slick back here in the shed. If you're seeing this video has been re-uploaded. I initially took it down because I realized I had made a couple errors during my reassembly phase. I just wanted to quick address that. There were two things that I did wrong. Okay, first thing being, when I was reassembling my ceiling rings onto my stator support connected to my pump, I was having trouble fitting the what would be the rear clutch assembly over top of these ceiling rings, and that's because I had the size of the rings swapped. There are two actual different sizes of rings on the single stator support. The larger rings, it's very difficult to tell the size difference. The larger rings, two of them, go towards the front of the stator support, and if this is how the pump sits in the transmission, well, this way would be the front. So what they're referencing is as close to here as you can get. The two largest go down here, the two smaller ones go up here. You'll notice in the video when I was trying to put the clutch pack assemblies on, I was having trouble. I had to even, firmly kind of nudge those into place on this, and it didn't feel right at the time, okay, but now I know. And these top ceiling rings would keep coming loose, and I didn't have a good understanding as to why. Well, that's why. That was number one. Number two, pun intended, the number two selective washer is what should determine the number one selective washer size that you need. These are what take up the play, or the slack, if you will, in the Geartrain Endplay, which I explain more in the rest of this video. But what I did incorrectly was I used the existing number two selective washer that we had that was already in the transmission, and then I just sized up the number one. That's not how you're supposed to do it. Allegedly, you'll end up with problems. So what you should do instead is get the proper size number two selective washer. And so I bought a new one, sized it up, and bought the same size number one nylon selective washer to go with it accordingly, to take up the correct amount of space that we need so that everything should go back together just as it should. And just as a note, I also want to just clarify, this is the very first time that I've ever done any type of transmission rebuild, let alone an automatic transmission rebuild. Give me a little bit of grace, and understand that while I will show you what I did right and I'll show you what I did wrong, don't take everything that I did, the way that I did it, as the gospel. I'll show you how I get to the end goal, but the way that you should do it should be different than everything that I've done here, because I'm showing you what I did wrong too. Okay, and I'll elaborate more in the video. And so with that, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks. Howdy do, folks. Back at it. And so now if we're talking to each other here, must mean that I'm ready to reassemble. Well, we'll start with the throttle body. And I got an actual diagram here pulled up of how everything's supposed to go, because this wouldn't be possible without Ford's 1968 service manual that literally has everything diagrammed out and listed. So I should be able to explain to you what parts I'm putting back together while I'm putting it back together, which is nice for you and me. So we got that going for us, which is nice. Where do I begin? Let's start with the accumulator valve. Accumulator valve, then spring. Then the 3-2 control valve, which just looks like a weight, but sure, yeah, 3-2 control valve, yep. And then the sleeve, and the cover goes on that. Okay. And then cover. Right in there. Okay. Go back and torque all that stuff down later. I got the torque specs for every piece of this, and then even got a 1/4 inch drive torque wrench, so I can do torque stuff down in inch pounds. I mean, if we're putting this much time into it, might as well just go for it. Okay, moving over. We're gonna do the 1-2 shift valve. Okay. This. Okay, so the way this looks, you got a little baby spring, then this D2 valve, then the 1-2 shift valve. Baby spring. Inserting these valves is kind of like putting a camshaft in the engine. You're rotating things around, trying to get them to seat into place. Okay. Looks right. And then 1-2 shift valve on the end. I just got to see which direction. Got a lip on it. The lip is going towards the cover. Okay. And then next to that, one more over, we need a throttle modulator valve. This long spring. Goes in like this, the short side in first. Is this magnetized? What is going on here? Oh, okay, relax. Relax, everybody. It's fine. Okay, that is seated where it needs to be. Now, the 2-3 shift valve, which appears to be this longer one. 2-3 shift valve with the largest side towards the cover. Coming in. Spring is seated within the 2-3 shift valve. Now we can throw this cover on. This is also extremely oily, which is what we wanted. Doesn't mean that it's easier to get the bolts in. All right, I'm feeling good about it. Manual low valve. Then our spring. Does not appear to be a difference whatsoever, the direction of this manual low valve. Nice, that went all the way to the back. Spring in. And followed up with the 2-3 back out valve, which also appears to be bi-directional. Cool. Last but not least, on the far end, the cut back valve with the short skinny end going in first. Okay. Those are all on there. Move towards our side here. First thing we'll have is then a spring throttle booster valve with the skinny end going in. Followed up with plug and then a stop pin. Plug. Now the stop pin here, does that go all the way through? There is a little detent to hold this. I'm just using a punch to to hold this for me while I insert that. Done. Seated. Then we're going to move to our downshift valve, spring, then retainer. Downshift valve with the longest skinny end in first, then spring. Seated. Spring around that. And then around that, we put our retainer clip. Hello.
Hey, Slick.
Hey.
Are you still in the shed?
Yeah. But yeah, I'll look at it and I'll tell you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, gotta help Grandma. Duty calls. Where was I at? I needed a flashlight. Where's there? There. She seated that time, didn't she? Now since she's at where she needs to be now, it's moving more freely. Well, see, I just threw it back out of whack. Gosh dang it. There. Floats when she's down there. We need to have the spring then on top of that. I knew that wasn't fitting the way it should have been. Trust your instincts, people. Spring. Spring, I do believe you need to be down in there more, right? Pretty sure when I was taking this apart, I was thinking, boy, that's going to be fun to try to put back together. I am almost positive that there is a Ford-specific tool to do this that's listed in that manual or whatever, but who's got that? Not I. So, I'm gonna have to just like finagle it a little. I think I'm extremely close to what needs, well, nope, never mind. I'm on the right track. I'm gonna use this pick to push our spring down. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't the most fun thing in the world. But what I did was use that pick to push down, at least on one side, get your retainer clip in so that one side of that spring is kind of cockeyed, but you're holding it with that retainer clip, so the retainer clip is partially in position. Then readjust your pick, push down the other side of the spring as much as you can, and kind of do the old switcheroo with pushing down the retainer clip to capture all the pressure from the spring and pop your pick out. Easier said than done. So that was the downshift valve. Then our manual valve is already in. That's the largest piece right here. So we'll move towards what is the top for me. Greasy phone, greasy phone. Manual valve detent followed up with a spring and then retaining pin, which I may have not removed. Oh, maybe that's what they're talking about, this right here that I was trying to goof around with the other day. Yeah, tried, not happening. So then we're gonna go to the line coasting boost valve, skinniest side in first, follow up with spring. You got it. That's seated. Spring, and this whole long conglomerate of stuff there. First is our main regulator valve, followed up with a large spring, followed up with a small spring, then a control pressure booster valve with its sleeve. Start with the main regulator valve in first with the fattest side going in. Fattest side going in. Rotating this around there like a camshaft. Slide that all the way down in there. I believe that's where it's supposed to be. Largest spring next. Tell me that's it? That's as far as she goes? Can't be, right? Whatever. Then smallest spring in there. And then a control pressure booster valve with the largest lip going in. Okay, largest lip going in. Sleeve needs to sit on top of it though, like this. Largest part of the sleeve, largest lip of the control pressure booster valve. It's got to slip in this way, hold on. Like so, and this goes in. Yeah. That's got some pressure behind it. Good Lord. Oh, come on. Stinky. Just give me one. Come on, bud. Just need you to see, please. Okay, yeah. Whew. Oh, man, that's tough. Okay. Major components of the valve body. Back in there. With exception to the check balls. The check balls need to go sit in the other side. All right, what's next? Next part of this. Place servo check valve. I don't know how well you're gonna see it on my black glove, but black little hockey puck. I've heard that if you do not have this, you will just have harsher shifts. All right, inserted. Next thing I think we need to do is just torque all those screws to spec. End plates to the body need to be 20 to 35 inch-pounds. So why don't we make it like 28? Split the difference. Sorry, it's a little bit more difficult to set this up to do 28, so we made it easy. And we're just gonna do 30. Torqued to spec. You believe that? Look at us. What are we doing? It's a little bit too professional. Gramps would be extremely proud. Actually, you'd think it'd be kind of nonsense, to be honest with you, but I'm doing right by him. He'd probably say something like, well, hey, if it makes you feel better. Yeah, I guess it does, Gramps. I guess so. Little rubber ball shuttle valve. One right there. And then this is the upper valve body. Found that out. Upper valve body, lower. This needs a check ball. The upper here. We need a gasket. Valve body gasket. A check ball in there, seated. Using a little bit of assembly goo in with these check balls to kind of hold them just for a second while I'm trying to assemble all this. Then we're gonna go with a gasket. Doesn't exactly look like the gasket I need. Are there other configurations? There is. Depending upon the type you have, I suppose. Okay, this does not appear to be the exact one that I need. Let's see, is the next one a winner? Still not looking like the exact one we need. Third time's the charm here. This looks like a winner to me. Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna position our gasket here so that we are not covering any passages. Right there. She's set. Okay. Now, separator plate. Looking good, Chief. Now, take this, We're gonna secure these two bad boys. Okay, I believe this separator hold down plate goes this way. Securing the valve body. What screws are you using, Cole? I don't know. That's what sits on top of all this, right? Wonder, ba-doo. I wrote the book of love. Big ones. I believe here. 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 Maybe not. Negative on that one. Where's this fella go? You know? I don't know yet. I'll find it. I'll find where it goes. I just don't know yet. Just give me a break. Same thread pitch. So let's do 45 on the lower to upper, and we'll do 50 on the plate to the body. Let's do plate to body first. Okay, 50. Now we'll do 45. Secure the oil screen of the body with screws, torque screws spec. Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What? What's going on here? Okay, never mind. We use these, but so where do these go? I don't know. Assemblies for his own little smile. There you go. All right. Assembled valve body. Okay. First thing we start with is a thrust washer in the bottom of the case. This thrust washer is thrust washer number 9. So take some assembly glue. Sorry, goo. The service manual that I'm referencing actually specifies using Vaseline. So if that's all you have, some petroleum jelly, it's recommended. You can do that. Cool. One-way clutch outer race now needs to go in the case. Do it like so you can see it. This is like an easier said than done thing too. It's been the majority of this project. And I got another. Great. And these are 13 to 20 foot-pounds. Okay, time to install the parking Pawl retaining pin, which is as simple as that. Then we need to do the parking Pawl with the retaining spring, which looks super fun. They just tell you to do it. They don't say how. They just say, just do it. Is that it? Couldn't be. Aha, okay, well, not doing it right, dummy, that's why. Goes like so. Yeah, that's great. That doesn't look fun. So I just use my finger and let it stab me, basically. And then take some needle nose, maybe some larger ones than I am, or a screwdriver, and force the spring to seat. Tell it to go to its home. Oh, that hurts. No, I'm fine. Where's a flat screwdriver when you need it? All right. Is that retaining spring retaining or what? Hey, appears to be in position to me. Install thrust washer number 10 on the parking Pawl gear. And then put the gear and thrust washer on the back face of the case. Oh, here you are. I believe it's this one. Sure looks like it. Well, it's gotta fit like this. Oh, well, that's why we test it. A little stinker. Spinning, we're spinning, we're spinning. Boop, park. Cool. Doing what it's supposed to. The 2 fluid distributor tubes in the governor distributor sleeve, and then they installed the sleeve on the case. And this is what keeps the all right, hold on a minute here, Chief. Drop a little oil down in there. Make these slide in a bit better. And seat. I'm basically just trying to tell them to sit down. We're home. We're home. Oh, dang it. Gotta take this off. Practice, it's all practice. All right, so I left my larger click torque wrench elsewhere. So instead, we got the old non-click torque wrench, is what I'm saying. Let's go like 15 foot-pounds. Worked. It's practice, that's for sure. Found me an empty tater salad bin. Southern style. We're gonna use that to clean this up for a second and then throw any bolts that didn't get entirely as clean as I want them to into some solvent to clean them. All right. Okay, now we need to install the governor assembly on the output shaft. Where's the rings? Oh, that's great. The one I need has an inner diameter of 1¼ inch. Little snap ring sits right in there. Oh, these flies are gonna get me. Come on, baby. You are making me nervous. Okie doke. That ain't going nowhere. Double check that our governor is installed correctly. Retaining ring in there ain't cockeyed. I don't like the fact that that is getting stuck in there. Not sure if that's right side in or not. See, this is why we take the time to look. I do believe that I need to adjust the primary governor valve. Hold on, let me kill this fly first. Watch me Mr. Miyagi this thing. Oh, see you later, bud. My daughter would be so proud of me. She loves when I do that. That one's for you, Juliana. Can this fit over the other side? Thank goodness. Okay, I'm gonna bolt those together now. Oil them up. Sure, there's a torque spec for that too. It's just oil everywhere. Okay. Put a new extension, housing, gasket on the case. Tail housing coming on. Now mind you, I did already install a new bushing. I'm supposed to put this in first. Yeah. Cool, man. Now tail housing. I love seeing that it's going back together. That makes me happy. Here's the only thing. If this linkage isn't back together yet, and I feel like that needs to be done before I completely seal this. I need to have our linkage connected.
Okie doke. I don't know where last we left, but we're back, folks. We have our tail housing installed. We've got our linkage installed, output shaft, new transmission mount installed. Next thing we're going to do is install our inner race spring for the one-way clutch system. I've already ensured that we still have our, what I think was described as the number 9 thrust washer, still installed in the rear of the case, and that it didn't just fall out during assembly of our other components. And it did not, so we're good. Throwing a little assembly goo on the bottom of this. Inner race needs to go in, and then individual springs. Inner race going in. Good. Now, install our springs and rollers. The springs, the way these are supposed to sit from the diagram I'm looking at is pressed right up against the backward L shape of the spring retainer. So as I'm inserting these, it's not really feasible now with gravity, but to be noted when installing the rollers in there as well, that's where those are going to sit. The rollers will be opposite that little backwards L shape. And you're throwing one of these in every single little section. Buddy, I don't ask for much. I just need you to go to your home. Oh, I think that was it. Oh, wow. Exhilarating. Why does it have to sound like that? But it does only rotate one way, so there's that. Oh, hey. Our fluorescent decided to show up. That's nice. Install Thrustwasher number 8 on top of the low and reverse drum. Slow and reverse drum needs to go next. Go this way. This is going in next. Yeah. Woo! Little assembly goo. There. It's holding that in place for us. Good. We're installing our low reverse band with the end of the band for the small strut toward the low reverse servo. I believe it's going in like so. There we go. Installed. And now we need the reverse ring gear and hub, which I am thinking is this. Okay. Seated. Love that. And now move the output shaft forward and install the reverse ring gear hub to output shaft retaining ring. Right, the retaining ring. Snap ring. This one here, huh? So I should be able to measure this, and this one should be, this should be like 1 3/16, whereas the one for the tail shaft housing was supposed to be 1 1/4. Let's install this now, huh? Well, look, all I'm saying is the measurement, this ain't doing what it needs to do for me. The in retrospect, was the snap ring on the tail shaft housing a little tight? Maybe. What's the easiest way to do this? Do I have to take it all apart to get that again? Oh, you'd really rather not, you know? Whenever I make these types of mistakes, I just try to think of it as, this is like my rite of passage, or whatever. It's either that or you cry. What are you gonna do? I'm not happy with myself for making such a mistake, but we live and we learn, and we laugh, otherwise we'll cry. Otherwise we'll cry. Okay. Yeah, let's do it all over again. What's the torque spec? I'll torque this back up, and I'll catch you back on the next one, because we're out of time for today. But you know what? Hey, lessons learned. I know where we left off.
it's good. We're going back, retorquing everything anyway. It's all good practice, sure. We'll see you later. All right, we are back for the day. Okay, and what we will be doing now is we're starting off installing thrust washers onto our rear planetary. I believe the service manual calls these thrust washers number 6 and 7. Last I left you, I had to take a couple parts back off to switch our snap rings around, get them in the right orientation. We are good now. Okay, seated. Now we're going to assemble the forward clutch assembly. Quick, which is here. Gets secured with this snap ring. I've already replaced the seals underneath this, the piston seal, as well as there's like a shaft seal on there too. There's a seal on the outside edge of this where it meets up with this case, so to speak, and then the inner portion here, there's also a seal that's underneath that. Replaced both of those. Now to secure this in place, we have to put this snap ring on top. Then on top of that goes this Belleville spring. So, shall we? This snap ring is just seated here, right? To retain that piston. Then right on top of that Belleville spring. Super good way to seat this in there. There. Now, on top of that Belleville is a snap ring. One of these larger ones. Okay, well, I wasn't looking to just install you right in the top there, bud. Forced down there. That's what you need. So I can pop it out of this upper ring area. There, and our goal is to get this pushed down far enough to get this snap ring into position, which it is most of the way. Okay, we're seated. Now we have these pressure plates. There's like a forward and rear pressure plate. They're just like larger looking steels. And that's what starts us throwing this forward clutch pack together. So one of those down. Okay, now we're gonna snag out one of our new sets of frictions. Okay, I do note, however, some of these friction discs are grooved, as you see. Some of them not. So, let's see if I can get a confirmation on what goes where. Okay, come to find out, the forward clutch frictions are typically the smooth ones. So that's what we'll use. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. And steels to follow. So we got a pressure plate followed by a friction. And then a steel. Place the steels in the cutouts. Thank you. And then on top, rear pressure plate is what they call it. Okay, now what's the chance we can actually fit another snap ring on top of that? Jeez.
hold on. Okay, so nobody's perfect. Yeah, did come to find out that there is a special plate that I just missed, which looks different from the other two, you notice. This needs to go in our forward clutch assembly, needs to be on the bottom. And then let me just remove these. This one out from the bottom. Put this one in down this way. And we'll go through the rigmarole again. Maybe this actually affords us enough room to actually throw our snap ring in there as intended. Funny how that works. Okay, it's all coming together. It is all making more sense. Okay, snap ring is in. Cool. Hey, we're getting somewhere. Okay, now we're gonna throw the reverse high clutch together. So let's do that. Again, I've already installed the piston. Oh shoot, what do you call the different seals? Well, they're both piston seals. Okay, already installed the piston seals. Now, spring retainer and then a snap ring on top of that. So this is our spring retainer. These would need to be pushed down, which is what we'll have to use some C-clamps for. There is a special tool you could use. We're not going to use that. No siree. I'll show you what I do. This may not be the well, I know it's not the preferred actually, but that's what I got. Some people are saying you need to use 4 of these to get the job done. And, oh by golly, I just don't find that to be true. I used 3 to take it off. I can use 3 to put it back on. I'm hoping. There's a 1. Well, everybody's got to find their way the first time, so here I am. Okay, we're moving. Oh, you stink. Well, this is no fun. Take it apart, super easy to not have this tool put together. All right. We're back. It's a new day. New day at 80 degrees at 5 a.m. Love that. You'll notice we have a new tool. Necessary, because last I left you, we were trying to get these little springs compressed with the C-clamps. Even though these assembly manuals say, yeah, you can do it, but you can do it with C-clamps. I'd love to see you try. I would love to see them try. So what I'm gonna do here, set up this little spring compressor tool, and we'll use that. No more futzing around. You feel me? Throw this up here. Loosen this. First time using this here, so let's just take our time. That ought to do. Start cranking her down here. Oh yeah. You seeing this? Hey, that's compressed. Where's our snap ring here? How does 1, you know? Yeah. One of these. Yeah. There's no way this was happening with the C-clamps we had. There. Oh, back up slow, back up. It is on there though, right? It ought to be. It looks sunk in there. Keep in mind. Well, it must not have been on there far enough, huh? Back down we go. Okay, so let's learn from our mistakes from last time. What do I ultimately think the issue is? I think it's this snap ring is not fully seated in like the snap ring groove, I guess you'd call it. Sitting just above it now. It's below the top of this flange, but I think the groove that I need to be in is just a little bit lower, and I don't know if this spring compressor tool is working. Sorry, not that it isn't working, it's that we're not manipulating it well enough to get this fully compressed. So that's what we're gonna try to do. Get it compressed just a little bit further so that we can push that
snap ring down just a little bit more, because I think that's what we need. Super close. Nope. I don't know how much more compression I got here. Oh, that might have been it. That might have been it right there. You hear that little click? Yep, now when I'm banging on it, it's just feeling solid. Let's see how we do here. Back her off. What an absolute pain in the rear. Just for context, I mean, part of me just, I'm drenched, man. I'm drenched. I was fighting this thing, fighting it for over an hour. Okay, now I will say, part of it is, you know, first time using this specific tool. If I would have known exactly how best to position this within the first 10 minutes, it would have been fine. I'm just letting you know, I would highly recommend that you go get, if you're going to try to do this, get a specialized tool, okay? Buy at least something like that. Don't try to do it with C-clamps. Frustration, okay? Frustration. All right, let's keep her moving. So we'll just move forward now and start assembling the reverse high assembly, starting with one of the steels. The reverse high clutch assembly has these waffled, I'll show you, waffled friction plates. Can't see it as well because I lubricated it up, but if I tilt it just right in the light, or they're grooved rather. The old ones, they were waffled. These ones, they're grooved. Shouldn't necessarily matter which orientation I have it, this way or this way, both the same. So steel, clutch, steel, clutch, steel, clutch. And we end it with one of our pressure plates. This would be the last pressure plate. Find where you fit. This is kind of sitting off kilter. Hold on here. Okay, it's easier to just dump them out. Oh, it's off kilter because this piston's off kilter. Hold on. Good that we catch it now. Am I right? There we go. Flatten her down. Just a couple love taps. Let's try this again, shall we? Would you look at that? Much more room this time. Now I can slide this pressure plate down in. And there's still enough room for our snap ring, as intended. Cool. Last snap ring. Yep. Nice. This thrust washer, see if a new one of those came with the kit. It did. There. Thinking this one goes on the end of our pump. Well, guess what? That didn't come with the kit. What's up with that? Good thing it's okay. Yeah, the number 2. All right, I'll put it on in a second. Need some goo. Goo complete. And now, I believe we're just gonna start assembling stuff now. Forward clutch needs to go on the reverse high. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Like this? Is it like this though? Is that how it's supposed to work? Hold on. Let's back up for a second. Let's start assembling in the case then. The surface rides on the thrust washer that's on top of the rear planetary. Yeah, got it. Does it go like this? Has to fit in there just so? Like this? Oh, we're getting somewhere. Yes. We're in. We are in. And now, forward clutch, hub and ring gear. What is the old? Yeah, old thrust washer. Throw our new one which is going on the back of the front planetary. We're going to throw this all together and then check the Endplay just to make sure that we're within spec, and then I'm going to take everything apart internally so that I can just check to make sure everything's working like it should, and then I'll reassemble it. There we go. Seated. And then assembly goo going on. Thrustwasher, I think this is number 3. Smooshed that on. Everything has to fit in there just so. And then Sun Gear and Thrustwasher number 5 on top of that. Okay, so what I just put on was number 4. Looks like this though. Alright, so I admit, when we were last here, I was assembling this incorrectly, okay? There's no other way to put it. So, let's just talk about the right way to do it, and we'll go from there. Sun Gear with the Fwd Planetary in it. Then you should take your 2 clutch assemblies. That goes on top. Then take our band. From here we would be installing the pump. And so as part of that, we need to go through, and if we have all the rings for it, place these little split rings. These little split rings, let's see. Not that I necessarily see anything wrong with these, but it's recommended to change them, so. Here was number 4. These all appear to be the exact same thickness and diameter, so I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down. They kind of clasp together. Not the easiest thing in the world, but it could be worse. Interesting design though. The trick is to kind of push from the back side, keep one section of the split ring in the groove, squeeze it together, and keep the top, like the other side, outside of the ring groove, and kind of push it up and over so that when it slides back in the ring groove or ring land, it's snapping into place on top of the other. Yeah, use all 4 of your hands for that. There's another. Could have been worse. Could have been worse. So while we're here, let's throw our seal into our pump. First one, we'll do the front pump seal. Saw from another reference video. It's a good thing I wanted to mention. You got this little spring in here. Well, you should, anyway. That's something that you would want to double check on, because if you do not have that spring in there, you will not have a good seal. The seal will fail. What is recommended, this is just one fella that does it this way, so do whatever you like. But you can take some of that assembly glue or goo. You can use some, I saw this guy using grease. I'm sure if the Ford service manual says, you know, in place of what we have as assembly goo now, they mentioned using Vaseline or petroleum jelly to put everything together. I'm sure you could use that too. The whole point of throwing something in there is so that when you are hammering the seal in, or you're driving the seal in, it prevents that little spring, which is necessary to make a good seal, from coming out. This is pretty obvious, but it should only go in one way. You notice that this is like a bit of a bevel, and the bevel is going at like a down, you know, slope in this way. It's all coming in towards, so that when your torque converter is coming in here, it keeps oil in. This is towards the transmission instead of allowing it to backflow out. Let's get a hammer here. Now, another reference video, I saw this fella using just a little mallet to tap that in. Although, since I already have the tools,
why wouldn't I just use, why don't I first just spill everything? Why don't I use a driver? Help keep this flat. I'd say that's pretty well seated, but I'll give her one more good one. Ta-da! Now, we did that one. What I still need to do, and then at this point, wish I would have done a little sooner. Oh, yeah, especially because this is getting heavy. My tail shaft housing seal. Also, do not be surprised, the original seal that came out is what had that boot on it, like a larger black boot, and I think that's OEM. These are the seals that are supplied with the kit. Will work just the same, although it just doesn't have that boot on there. Tail shaft housing already in there. So we're just going to go around in a circle then and try to get one side in here, not allow her to get too off kilter. I really should have installed the tail shaft housing seal a little sooner. Oh, cool. All right, now I'm going to spend the next however many minutes cleaning the seal up. I'll get back with you. All right, I got all the gunk out of the seal there. Well, because I want it done right, we will take the tail shaft housing off again. And we'll get this sealed up right. All right, here we are again. This should be easy peasy lemon squeezy though. Get this driven in now. Drive this in quick, and then I'll throw this tail shaft back on and keep moving. And we'll learn from our mistakes, okay? And we're not gonna do that again. Still fighting. But it's easier to chase the seal around like this than it is laying down. Got her on the run, boys. Good. Well, that wasn't fun. She's in there now, that's all that matters. All right, I'll be back with you. Okay. Tail shaft housing back on. Bolts retorqued. Seals in. Good there. What's the chances that our tail shaft housing seal now actually seals exactly like it should? I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. What are you gonna do? Okay. Now at this point, since I got all my seals in, flip our pump over, and we're gonna put our pump gears in. This would be the drive gear. This would be the driven gear. The drive gear, the chamfered side, which would be this side, needs to be faced down into the pump housing, right? Think about it this way. If I throw these together, right? Chamfered side is down, and this is the pump housing. If this is up there sealed, I have the chamfered side facing this way. This is going towards the torque converter, right? Torque converter needs to be able to slide in. The torque converter on the end of its shaft has flat sides. Those flat sides meet up with these flat sides. It needs to be able to have this chamfered area to slide in, connect with those flats, and when it spins, coming off the engine, that is what drives this pump. So I will use some assembly lube, put all that together, put assembly goo all over that, and then I dipped it in transmission fluid. Okay, do the same here. Chamfered side, face down towards the pump housing. And line that up. Now what I want to do is bolt our housing up to the rest of our gear assembly. So let's do her like this. I'm gonna bolt this up so I can check our Geartrain Endplay. Being as gentle as one can be. Almost.
Future Cole here. Again. Just so you know, okay, I'm gonna throw this in here. I'm gonna splice it in when I'm trying to initially install this reverse high clutch assembly onto the stator support. You see how easy that was for me to take that off? It should go on the same way. It should go on and come off just that easy. Okay, you shouldn't have to use a hammer. You can tilt this slightly one way or the other, get it to slide on. Okay, on, off, on, off. Okay, you don't need to use the hammer. Okay, if you can't put it on and off that easily, there's an issue. Stop right there, reevaluate. I walk so you can run. Okay, sorry, I crawl so that you can walk. Maybe we can both run together in the future. You know what I'm saying? Learn from my mistakes.
That's where the input shaft comes in handy. Yeah, how do you get that apart again? I don't know. Oh. Yeah, sliding this off after putting the new ceiling rings on it, not easy. Would it be easier then? Well, gee, Cole, that doesn't look very fun. Yeah, you're right. This part, it ain't really. Just sweating like a pig. I'm sweating like a pig in here. Oh, yeah. I'm sure there were easier ways to do this. Oh, let me find my pump bolts. I need to bolt all of them up right this second to check this, but I do need at least a couple. So we got to match our oiling holes and such up. Well, now hold on here. It's the best way to do this. Can I test our Endplay without installing the gasket? Somebody give me a rag. We're in there. All right. Howdy, folks. Back. Now, last I left you, I was struggling, trying to get everything to fit together correctly. I don't remember exactly what I last showed, but if anybody is an experienced C4 builder, and you would have watched that last little bit prior to me talking now, you would have noticed that when I was putting the, I think it would be the stator, as part of the pump assembly in, I forgot to throw in my number 2 and number 1 washers. I believe the number 1 is, one of them is that little small one, sits on the very top. It's the other side of this shaft. Tiniest little, here, do I have another one? No. Anyway, one of them is made out of nylon. One of them's the smallest one there, and ooh, I forgot to throw both of them on there. So I threw both of them on there, and then I bolted everything back together, so it's on there. And what we're doing now is checking for, I think it's called Geartrain Endplay, and it could be done several ways. I'd say most accurate method would be to attach via like magnetic base. You could use a flexible handle and then vice grip a portion of the handle here. Use a dial gauge. If you weren't going to vice grip it here, you'd be using like a magnetic base, attach it here. Basically, the dial indicator has a little piece that would stick up against the end of the shaft, and a portion of that end of that gauge moves ever so slightly, right?
So you would want to put it against the end of the shaft just so that it's touching. Zero that gauge out, and then what you're checking for is when you put a pry bar, I put it in behind the sun shell and rear planetary. You're checking for the amount of movement in the gear train assembly. All right, so you can see I took it all apart again. Can you tell I'm not taking any chances? Because why would you? First thing I'll do is demonstrate to you. We'll do an air check to make sure that the clutches are moving inside of our, what is this, the reverse high clutch pack. Throwing an air nozzle here, and you're going to be watching to see if this moves up ever so slightly. It's not going to be a whole lot, but a little bit, just to make sure they're moving. Hope you can see that. It is moving. I'm sure if I had a better seal, you'd see even better. Moving like that. Good. Now, let's take, what is this one called? Intermediate. Throw this on top. If I could get it to seat. That ain't very fun to get seated. All right. Let's test the other one here. It's either this one or this one. I'm not sure yet. Let's see. Not that one. Not that one either. Okay, I want you to see something that I found quick. So, I couldn't get the forward clutch assembly to fit on top of the front pump shaft, right? Now, mind you, when I put the reverse clutch pack on, it was a little tough to slide this on, to get it on there to seat correctly, and I thought that was just because we had new rings, new sealing rings. Well, I also knew in the back of my mind that there's a year where they started to make different size rings. Now, I specified in this, whatever rebuild kit that what year the transmission was, and they should have sent me the proper rings accordingly. But this shinier one is the old ring that we had. This black one here with the yellow stripe on it's the newer one we had, and it looks, and it could just be this clasp right here. I don't know, it looks ever so slightly smaller to me. I mean, it's very similar, extremely similar. But every single time I would put this forward clutch on, this topmost ring would fall off. So, you know what? We're gonna try the old ones, see how they fare. I don't want issues. Bear with me here for a second. No, that just slid on there a lot easier, I'll tell you that. Oh, seated in there just like it should be now. We're actually making contact with the thrust washer. Now, when I go to do an air check on this forward clutch, I should be able to see it move where I didn't before. Oh, yeah. The future coal again. Splicing this in here. This is how the reverse high should function if you have the correct sealing rings in there. Okay, you should see this move. Oh, there you go, see? See it moving? Up and down, up and down. I ought to plug my finger here somewhere. There, hope you can see that. Then, with the forward on top, if I get it to seat just so. Well, it's a nice looking square body, kind of slammed to the ground. Not really my thing, but I can appreciate it. Huh? You can see it moving in there. There you go, that's how it should work. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. You see how it takes a second to leak all that out of there too? That's sealing well. Good, that's the point. Well, we're out of time for now, but feeling a lot better. Feeling good. Clutches are confirmed, working how they're supposed to. We'll throw this all back together. I'll do a final Endplay check now that I've changed a couple things just to be sure. Then we'll throw the bands on, throw the servos on, do an air check up on top of the case before we throw the valve body in, just to make sure that the bands are working exactly like they're supposed to and that we can hear the governor spinning in there. Then throw her together. We'll see you next. Hey yo, we're back, baby. This ought to be, I don't know, 13th, 14th day I've been working on this, because you know I get small periods of time. We should be done with this today. This is a Saturday at like 6:30, so we got some time. Last I left, we were air checking this stuff, and both of these clutch assemblies are good, so I want to throw everything back into the case. And now that we are fully seated up against the pump, I want to make sure that we're still within spec for Endplay. Oh, good. All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're going to assemble everything else so that this is ready. And we'll do our Endplay check as like the very last thing, because our bell housing is still attached to the engine that we just broke in that is on the engine run test stand. So I really don't want to take that off until I'm ready to just throw this in the car. And hopefully by the end of this today, we're ready to do that. So wetting. We'll do intermediate servo next. Already got the seals in around the piston. I just need the gasket. Can't forget the spring. (16 to 22 foot-pounds for the intermediate servo cover, so let's do, what did I say, 16 to 20 something? Do somewhere to, I don't know, 20. Let's move on to our other one. Reverse high, which consequently I had to, I'll show you, I had to buy a new one because it's got a bonded lip seal onto it. See, there's not going to be like an external gasket. It's just this seal, well, goes in this way, sorry. This way, plus there's a gasket on this case cover too. And by the time I realized, oh yeah, that's a bonded seal, it was too late. So it may not be the same for yours depending upon the year or whatever, I don't know. I just work here. So can I fit my pinky in there? Kinda. Here's something I want you to notice. Number one, I'm guessing there's just so many different seals depending upon what year you had. Because trust me, I replaced all the seals that I was supposed to, okay? But there are so many of these. None of which are flat on one side, rounded on the other. That would be this lip seal. Master Rebuild Kit My Hiney, all right? put this fella back on. Little vent tube on the intermediate reverse servo. If I could get this to seat in there. There we go. I'm gonna use one of my longer bolts for that. Then transmission's ID tag is gonna go over top of that. I'm gonna use the other longer bolt there. There we are. Same thing, 16 and 22. So if we can hit about 20, fine. Going diagonal, like across the case, so I'm not inadvertently like warping the cover or whatever. Good on that cover, good on the other cover. Could put in our vacuum modulator. Let's do that. Got a new one, comes with its own little gasket. Got to throw our little pin that sits in there though. Skinny side in first. This is the primary throttle valve. Need to use a pick, make sure this gets sent to the rear here. Okay, now do our well, I'm glad we caught it now. Let me just take this back off, throw the spring back on it, because what am I doing? Glad we figured that out. Band strut adjustment bolts, that's what I was gonna do. I can put our adjustment, our band struts in there for the rear right now. Oh, well there you are. Okay. And this gets the baby one. Boy, there's a special way to do that. Rear's in there. Sending this down until it's making contact with the band. And there's a torque spec for that. Low reverse needs to be torqued down to 10 foot-pounds. Now we want to torque it to 10 foot-pounds. While we're at it, throw our mount back on there. Let's get our gear train back in here. Let me slide you around, big boy. Yeah, let me get this in place, then we'll focus on getting the bell housing ready and over here. Oh, this is heavy. Almost. There. She's in. Okay. We're in there. Let's switch gears for a second. Pun intended. And I guess take that engine off so that we can get the bell housing back, throw her on there. All right, let's do it. Well, good thing it hit the gas can and nothing else, I guess. All right, she's free. That is a bit of a process. Okay, let's go take our bell housing. Not tip ourselves over. Now we're gonna take the bell housing off of that plate and we'll throw it on the transmission so we can do our final checks. There. Let's hope that Endplay's good. All right, you watch with me. Oh boy, there's a little play in there. I wonder, do I need to set this strut first too, probably? So I can have it in place anyway. Let's do that. Turn this piston. Alright, this has to be down to 10 foot-pounds. Oh, that reminds me. Okay, we have to go back. We need to go down to 10 foot-pounds, but then on the rear, the reverse high, this needs to be backed off 3 full turns. Okay, so we're starting at about like the 2 o'clock position. 3 full turns we need to back this off. 1, 2, there's 3. All right. Adjusted. Now this one up top needs to be 10 foot-pounds and back it off 1.5 turns. About 12 o'clock. Okay. One and a half. Lock her down. Bands are adjusted. Whew. Yeah, there's a bit of play. Kind of holding back pressure here, so I know I can figure out what my starting point is. 30 thousandths fit in there, but 62 does not. I think there's a little drag on 58,000. Let's go 56. Still a little bit of drag there. Let's go 54. There. That's going to be my reference point is 54. And then if I get in here with my screwdriver, push that forward. Let's go to our 62. So this would be 8 thousandths, right? 8 thousandths difference from 54 thousandths of an inch to 62 thousandths. I'm throwing 62 thousandths in here right now. There's still space. So let's gap that. Let's see if I can find my 10 thousandths real quick. So that just makes it an easier increment for me. So this would be 18. Now we have 72 thousandths versus our 54. 18 thousandths is still loose. Remember, we have a range up to 42. So let's make a big jump. 32 thousandths, 30 thousandths, 24 thousandths. So that's 60, 70, 84 thousandths. The difference between our starting reference point, 54 thousandths and 84 thousandths, is 30 thousandths. Now that is, let me compress these together first. Well, there's some drag on that going in when I am not pressing. I added a 10 on there, so we got 32 thousandths, 30 thousandths. So that's our 62, 70, hold on, this is 86. So this is 86 thousandths versus our 54 reference, which would be 32. Me throwing this 10 thousandths in here is the 42. This is the very end of spec. This isn't a super accurate test, but I really wish I kind of had that dial bore gauge, make me feel a little bit more comfortable. So all this to say that we're pretty much right at the end of spec. That's okay. We're in spec. There's spec for a reason. It doesn't make me feel super happy, but it lets me know that it'll work. And really, that's what we wanted for this. We want to be able to get it back driving again, not sink a whole bunch of money back into it. This is as budget as you can get. So at this point, check the Geartrain Endplay. We can do several air checks just to watch the struts work, listen to the governor. Let's do that. Okay, one of these in here, I think it's this one, should be able to go to the governor so we can hear that spin. Yep.
Hear that? Okay. Struts. See that working? Wrong one. See that one working too? Doing what it's supposed to. Can hear the clutch working in there. Okay. Also future coil back again for some proper air checks. First thing we'll do is listen for the governor. That's spinning. That spins correctly in the initial video as well. But now let's do the, it'd be reverse band, right? Here, I'll get it out of the way so you can see. Hear the good seal. You can see this actuate. Maybe I'll turn this a little bit so you can see better. Whoa. There you go. Then the forward, I may be mixing those up, vice versa, okay? I'm on the fly here. All right, that ought to work. That ought to do what we need it to now. Good to go. Throw it back together. So I got the got the valve body in there. Let me secure this real quick so I can show you our linkage is working. All right, you sink these down quick. Filter valve body, 2 case bolts between 80 to 120 inch pounds. Let's shoot for 100 inch pounds. Okay. If you can see here, I'll hold the flashlight up so you can. When I actuate our manual lever here, you should see the manual valve, I think, slip out the back. There, see? So that's doing what we need it to. Cool. I just gotta put the case gasket on it. Or sorry, pan gasket on it. Pan. Howdy folks, Slick back here in the shed. So we're about to finish up the transmission for good this time. I did what I do, and I got a little concerned. Even though when I left last, I said that, okay, our Geartrain Endplay, we were within spec, as far as I could tell, on a rough estimate, but at the high end, okay, and that just wasn't sitting well with me, you know. I didn't want to feel as though we left it half done, so to speak. And you put all this time and effort into making sure something's right, make sure it's right. All right, so we're gonna do this a little bit more thorough. Okay, so what I will do first is I'm gonna take one of the old slip yokes. I'm gonna throw this into the tail shaft to keep everything aligned and kind of centered, not moving. This is part of the Geartrain Endplay checking procedure specified within the Ford service manual. We'll do that. Then I did buy a magnet base and a smaller dial indicator so that we can precisely check what our end play is. It's a better idea, right? And then on top of that, went out. Can't recommend this company enough either. I won't show you the box because it has my address on it. However, I will tell you that it is Cobra Transmission. Cobra Transmission parts located out of Sebring, Florida. They got me exactly what I needed. I bought some extra of the plastic selective washers. That'd be the number 2 washer, I think. Number 1 washer, actually. And then I bought a different size number 2 washer. I forget which one it is off the top of my head. Anyway, they're just different sizes, right? Larger sizes, I mean, by larger, I'm saying we're talking thousandths of an inch, of course, but enough to potentially take up a little bit more slack if needed, which I think is what we do need. But we'll confirm that by taking a little look-see here, all right? Get our slip yoke in there, and I don't know how easy this is gonna be. Okay, not as bad as I thought. All right.
in. Now I am gonna have to take the valve body off again. It's okay, not a big deal. I have to look the torque spec back up again. Ask me if I remember what it is. Nope, don't remember. But it's not that hard. Now let's set up our gauge here. She's zeroed. Now, pry bar. Oh! I mean, if I push real hard, it's like 32, 33 thousandths. Dude, we're good. The only thing that I want to do then, I mean, I have the, shoot, I'll put one of the washers I got in there, and we can try one of the other selectives to see if we can bring it down a little bit. But I don't want to goof it too much, really. Stand by. I'm going to take all of our bolts out, remove the pump again, swap some of the selectives, and see where we're at. All right, we're back. So we are going to use our micrometer here and mic our parts. So this is our number 2 washer. Remember, we were off by, we were at 30, anywhere between like 33 to 40 thousandths of Endplay. So I'm gonna mic this about 60 thousandths. So number 2 stamped washer, which this is, should be between 58 and 56 thousandths of an inch. I'd say that's 58 thousandths. Okay, makes sense, 58 thousandths of an inch. What about our new one? I'm gonna guess it would be like a number 4 stamp, 92 to 90 thousandths. 92 thousandths. But theoretically speaking, if I was at like 35 thousandths of an inch Endplay and my spec is between 8 and 42, then I don't have the difference between this selective and this selective play. This is ever so slightly worn, but I do believe this is what we should continue using, whereas we have a little bit more wiggle room to pick up slack with these nylon washers. And so in turn, let us measure that. And I'm gonna say this is like either the yellow or neutral color. This is 74 thousandths. What are the other two that I got? Can't fit a 95, let's do 105. We can do a 105. So what's the spec for a 105? There's one that's 104 to 108. 104 to 108. And say this is at 105. Our other selective was at, like, let's just round it up to 75. That's 40 thousandths difference, right? Somebody's getting their walk-in out there. Can't fault them for that. All right, no going back now. I'm joking. You could always go back. I've heard some people will throw an RTV underneath the pan seal just as like an added safety. And you know what? I figure we'll cross that bridge when we get there, if needed. You see I have some shiny bolts and some not as shiny bolts. Well, not that I bought any original replacements for our bolts, but the old ones were lost somehow, or they just broke as I was taking them out. Some of them were okay, so that's why we have some old, some new. This is the budget rebuild. Always like to start any bolts hardware by hand, or if you want to put it in the end of a manual ratchet, and you know, still by hand, get it to seat and start a couple threads. That's one thing. But I will never just throw her straight into the ratchet and send her. Unless it was a project I really didn't care about. Just slightly seat them. We're not torquing anything yet. Okay, now torquing time. 12 to 16 foot-pounds. All right, we've done about 15 everywhere. We're just gonna go back and double check it. All right. All right, I'm good with calling it there. So, a couple notes. There was some, there were things that were done. I don't know where the broken piece of it is, but here's our, what would be the number one selective, the nylon. Can you tell how it's kind of, at least in the middle here, it's not a perfect circle anymore. It's kind of like somewhat oblong, wallered out. I believe our broken piece is right here. I don't know exactly when that happened, or I don't know if that necessarily happened while I was trying to reassemble. I'm thinking it could have just been something I didn't notice. Regardless, I threw in our smallest replacement selective, which I think is somewhere in the range of, what was it, 100 thousandths. I put that in there just to see, okay, look, let's see, what is our Endplay going to actually be like with this in here? Not sure until we put it all together. Put it all together with that new selective in there, tested the Endplay again, and we are at somewhere between like 10 and 15 thousandths once I throw my screwdriver in there and pry. So good with that. I would rather be on the low end of spec knowing that everything is going to start wearing out even further. And so I'd rather be on that end of spec than the higher end anyway. That makes me feel better. I'm happy with where we're at. We've got the thing back together. Everything's torqued down. Last thing I wanted to show you. Ooh, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Remanufactured torque converter, like I was talking about in the intro. This is what's going to go in there. Need to fill this up, throw that on there, and you will see that happen in the next one. Because the next one is me throwing this transmission together with that engine. We put it into Sally. The last things we have to do is install the new radiator, install the engine and transmission, of course, install the drive line, install the exhaust system, change the diff fluid, get it aligned, and we're good to go. That's it. We're done. Needs a wash. And I mean, there's so many other things that could be done, but that's where I'm calling it, baby. It's going to get road trip down to Florida. Coming very soon. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. If you can, please subscribe, share the channel name. It helps quite a bit. Thanks, and take care.